Hello, lovely, and welcome back to Solo and Soaring. This is episode 5. I can't quite believe we're here already. It feels like this has just gone by so fast. I'm having so much fun recording this, and I hope you're really getting great value from it as well. Like, obviously, that's my intention. I want this to be something that you can absolutely dive into. Like, all of the sessions so far have been around the 45-minute mark, which wasn't my intention, but I feel like it's so valuable. And I feel like I want you to walk away from this podcast feeling so inspired and knowing what to do, right? Because I don't want to just be the rah, rah, rah person. I want to actually make sure that you have got the steps that you need. And whether that is, continuing to work with me, whether that's through paid, the DIY stuff, multiplier, one-to-one, whatever it might look like, or even if you just go and buy my book and go and like really like embed it all, because obviously, I mean, I've given you as much as I possibly can, and I am continuing to give you as much as I can. The book is obviously a comprehensive document, and then really the way I approach how I work with clients is, I will give you the knowledge. I will absolutely give you the knowledge, because you know what? Knowledge is out there, but the real kind of magic happens in the implementation, right? And I'm sure you've heard this, and I'm sure you've seen this as well. And especially, I mean, like, I've been in online business for 13 years, and we have had such a plethora of information out there. And then you get to a point where you kind of go, okay, I've got it, but now I just need to do, right? And this is where working with me is really, the magic is in the implementation. It's in the guidance. It's in the step by step. And with something like Multiplier, you get access to me every day through the Telegram group, and you can ask your questions for a whole year. It's Monday to Friday, and and you really get the support that you need, because truly, and this really ties into what we're going to be talking about today. I don't want you to be that person that is constantly looking for the next shiny object, right? You'd be forgiven for thinking and believing that there's a magic bullet out there, right? That somebody has a winning strategy that is going to make everything right for you, okay? And I will put my hand up and say, I believed that for a very long time. I felt like I must be missing something. I must be missing something. I am not getting it. I'm not smart enough, etc., etc. And over the years, I have invested a lot of money in courses and mentors and coaches, a lot of money. And I was like, oh, actually, you know what? I know what I need to do. Now I just need to do. And so, this is going to be really tap into what we're talking about today, because, whilst episode 1 to 4, we've been very strategic, especially in episode 3, yeah, no, 4, rather, we were getting into like the nuts and bolts of like systems and things like that. Today, we're kind of taking a different tack in this episode, because this episode is about what's going on for you internally, right? So it's called the solopreneur shift, right? It's about how you craft a winning self-concept for unstoppable success. And like, mindset has been around for a long time. You've probably done mindset courses, all that kind of good stuff. But I want to talk about it from a different angle, okay? And this is something that I've been really exploring for a good while now, in terms of for my own business and my own development, right? So I journal a lot, and I keep all my old journals and as a documentation of my journey, right? And I was looking at my journals, I think it was in like back end of last year or something. And I remember looking at it going, okay, there's like a theme going through them all, right? And I'd have like this vision, these goals, and I'd be like, oh, why didn't I achieve that? Why didn't I get the result that I wanted? And then I'd look at another journal that was maybe a year later, and I'd still be saying the same thing. And I was like, and it got me really curious. It got me really curious. It got me to understand that strategy was not the thing that was holding me back, right? And, maybe you can relate to this, because I was really getting to that place where I was like, there's something that I am completely overlooking here. And it's the reason why I feel like I'm not moving in the direction that I want to go in, or getting there faster, because I'm missing a piece. And not missing it from like, oh, there's something lacking in me, but actually it was the realization that I had all the strategy. I had strategy. I do have strategy coming out of my ears, right? I have got so many strategies. Like when you work with me, I'm not the person that says, this is the strategy, right? Because everyone's different. And I love to be able to make sure that what your strategy is, it's right for you, it's right for your style, it's right for the way that you want to show up in your business. But what I realized was that all the strategy was everywhere. Like I was going, I know how to do that. I know how to do that. I know how to execute on that. I know how to do all of those things. And yet the result that I was getting was not the result that I wanted. And so that really made me curious, and I really had to dig deep, and it was not pleasant at all. It was pretty murky, pretty scary. And yeah, and do you know what though? You're going to really get the benefit of the murkiness because if it helps to raise the awareness for you around what could be holding you back from creating the results that you really want. And as a solopreneur, I think this is so important because, it's just you. It's just me in the business. And, you can have good friends, and you've got a supportive family. But sometimes it's really, you kind of think, oh my God, what's going on? What's going on? And you don't have anybody that you can really bounce ideas off. I do recommend getting yourself a business bestie. I have one of those. We meet every month, and like it is such a tonic to be able to have that conversation and to be able to have an open, safe, vulnerable conversation with somebody to say, okay, well, this is what's going on for me. What do you think? And having a conversation with somebody who knows what it's like to be in business, right? So that's what I want to talk to you about today. And what I really want to focus in on, whereas the previous 4 episodes have been very much about the external in terms of your messaging, your offer, in terms of your signature program, your digital assets, your 24/7 sales team, the systems that you're going to be using, that's all external to you. And today we are going to go within, right? And actually, interestingly enough, in my Mesmerise course, it's a 3-part course. There's like 3 masterclasses in this course, in this program rather. One is around messaging, one is around how you create an iconic identity, and the third masterclass in that is called Within Work. And that's what this is all about, because it's about what's going on for you internally. And I firmly, wholeheartedly know and believe and trust that what is going on for you internally reflects in the external. So whatever is going on for you in the external, it is a reflection of your internal world. Now that can sometimes be hard to hear because you're thinking, why am I doing this to myself? Like, why am I putting myself through this? And really there is something there for you to mine. There's something there for you to discover. There were many times I was like, listen, I don't want this. I don't want this CRAP, right? Can we just like get past this? Like, this is really uncomfortable. But there's something there. And this is really what I've been, and I continue to do this work, right? This is not a one and done, unfortunately. This is something that it's going to take a bit of time because, if you're like me, I'm in my 40s. We've done programming ourselves for a very long time through all these life experiences, all these things that have happened. Like even when I think back to when I got married and when I had my first child, I think I am such a different person now. Even when I think about how I parented like my eldest son when he was younger to what I'm doing now. And, there can be a bit of guilt on that because you're like thinking, oh my God, like, oh, maybe I was a bit shouty and I didn't want to be shouty. But nobody teaches you about nervous system regulation. Nobody teaches you how to look after yourself when you are so overwhelmed and so overstimulated, which you will, you can be as a parent. And so this is an evolution, right? So this isn't something that you're just going to go, great, flick the switch and we're done. That's not how it works, because this is something that you will just keep doing until it becomes so natural, so organic to you, it would just becomes your natural process, right? So I'll give you an example. Back in 2021, I started doing this exercise routine. Now, I've always had like kind of a little bit of body dysmorphia, if you like. I've always thought I was much bigger than I actually was. And it kind of really stemmed from when I was little. And I remember someone told me that I had a big bum, and that stuck with me. And I had this vision of like me having this big backside, right? And so I always had this vision that I was bigger, right? And I had some cousins who were super skinny. My sister was also very, very slim, and I was always a little heavier, right? And so I always had this idea about myself and my weight and, my body image. And so I tried everything. I gym, swimming, Pilates, everything, whatever you could think of. And I was just like, ugh. And then I stumbled across this online quiz, and I followed the breadcrumbs and I got the quiz, and it was going to give you an exercise plan based on your hormonal pattern, whatever it was called, your style or whatever it might be. And so I got this thing, and it was like a 15-minute routine every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And I started doing it, and and I had to push myself because in the morning, like at 7:15 in the morning, you're like, oh my God, I don't want to work out. But I really, really pushed myself and started doing it. And I remember there was this moment where I pulled on a pair of trousers that I had had in my cupboard for such a long time, but I hadn't worn them because my thighs didn't fit it, right? And I put them on, and they slipped on so easily. And I was like, whoa, what is going on here? And what happened? And this was maybe about 3-4 months after having started this ritual of my exercise routine. And I was like, oh my God, no, I've never worn leggings, right? I never wear leggings. You're probably thinking, Yasmin, what does this do with business? But trust me, I'm going somewhere with this, right? I never wear leggings. And so I had a pair of leggings, and I put them on, and I went, oh, I look good, right? So, and the reason why I'm sharing this with you is because I started doing things to put myself in a different place. And I didn't have any expectation or attachment. I genuinely just thought, I'm just going to do this exercise routine. It was strength training. It was, lots of press ups and squats and things like that. So I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to give it a go, because at this stage, I had tried so many things. What I didn't expect was the really dramatic transformation that I actually did see, that actually the shape of my body changed, the shape of my legs changed. And I was like, wow. And this is what's going to happen to your self-concept, because it's going to be something that you do regularly. You're not just going to do it once and go, boom, I've rewired my brain and all is good. It's not going to work that way, right? And I say that because we are fed so much nonsense right now, actually probably forever, that oh, it's just this easy and it's just this way and you just do it like this, and business, you can make 10K in 60 seconds. And we are fed this constant diet of like these quick results. But what happens is, first of all, it's not sustainable, because whatever your frenetic activity is to get that result, you're going to be thinking, oh, it's a fluke. How am I going to be able to replicate that, right? So if you've had a 10K month and you kind of go, oh God, how do I do that again, right? You'd rather have a sustainable 5K month than a 10K month once in a blue moon, right? It's the same with the exercise. You're not just gonna like do a yoga class and then suddenly you're gonna be all toned and flexible and super bendy, right? So I'm going to be honest with you, right? Because in full transparency, this stuff just takes time. But honestly, time will pass anyway. Imagine where you could be in 12 months' time, right? Because the time's going to pass anyway. But if you started implementing the things we've been talking about in this podcast from today, and you start working on this, imagine where you could be in just 6 months, 12 months. It is such a tiny, tiny part of your life. But if you keep putting it off and you don't take the action and you don't commit and you don't hold yourself accountable, then you will get to 12 months' time and go, oh, things are still the same. And you don't want that to happen. Okay. So let's kind of really ground ourselves into this topic, because this is a topic that is going to be speaking to your heart, to your soul, to your gut, right? Because the gut is your second brain. It's not talking so much to your head, right? Because a lot of what we've already been talking about is very kind of head focused, and it's like strategic and tactics and things like that. But today we're really talking more to what's going on for you internally, in your heart, your gut, your soul, okay? And I want to start off with this truth. You're probably thinking, Yasmin, you've already started for a while there, love. But we want to start today's episode with just saying your business can only grow as much as you believe it can. Okay, we repeat that. Your business can only grow as much as you believe it can, right? Because what if the biggest bottleneck to your business is not strategy, it's not tool, right? But it's actually your self-concept, right? And so we're really going to dive into this concept, this idea of a self-concept, and how you build the self-concept that aligns with success, right? Because if you are not experiencing the results that you want, then chances are that your self-concept is not aligned to that yet, okay? And I want to help you to align it so that success as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, as a solopreneur, it's inevitable, okay? And this matters because your self-concept, the way you look at yourself, the way you think about yourself, the way you talk to yourself, right? It's the foundation of everything that you do in your business, right? Every risk you embrace, every action you take, every result you create in your business. It is the foundation, okay? And so let's kind of take a specific example. Like if you have this belief that nothing ever works out for me, nobody wants to buy my stuff, people don't think I'm good enough, right? Or I don't think I'm good enough. So what you're going to see is you're going to see that played back to you, right? You are literally putting out this idea, this concept, and the world is going, okay, sure, I'll give you all the evidence you need to prove that that's true. Have you ever noticed where somebody has got like supreme confidence, bordering on arrogance, and you're like thinking, yeah, but look at all these people that are flocking to them. Why are they not coming to me? Because I'm really good at what I do. But you know what? That person will put the arrogance to one side, right? And let's just say that they're just really confident, right? They have such strong belief in themselves that that is a magnet to all of those people who really resonate with it, who really are pulled towards because of the confidence, right? They have so much certainty in their body that that is what they can't help but emanate. That is what they cannot help but put out there, broadcast out there, right? They are so certain. And this is why when we think back to, like right at the beginning when we talk about your message, right? When you figure out what your signature transformation is and you create that magnetic message, I want you to be so aligned to it so that you look at what you do and you go, absolutely, I could do this in my sleep, right? Because what's going to happen is that belief that you have about helping people get that result is going to be so goddamn compelling to your ideal client. They're going to be like, oh, I don't even know why, but I'm feeling drawn to you, right? So everything that I've been talking about in the podcast so far, in your magnetic message, creating your signature program, your trademark transformation, turning that into a premium offer, turning it into a signature suite of offers, creating digital assets, building systems or implementing systems to really streamline. All of those things are things that I've been talking about for the last decade. I know in every cell of my body that I can help you to do that, right? So there is so much certainty, but I didn't always have it. I will absolutely say this. This has not been like, oh, yeah, I know what I'm doing, right? Because I didn't. Took me a really long time. When I first started the business, I kind of talk about the first couple of years as being in messaging wilderness, didn't have a clue what I was doing. Even when I did start Tiny Time Big Results, I was still talking about productivity and efficiency and time management. It's been an evolution, right? And it's only because of the results that I've created for myself and for my clients, for my students, that I kind of go, actually, do you know what, Yasmin? You do know what you're talking about. You can actually help people get these amazing results. And, if I think back to, my client, Sharon, she had no business when she started working with me. And she is just flying high now. That was a few years ago. I think to my client, Althea, who had her first 10K month as a consequence of all the work that we had been doing. And one of the big things that she kept saying to me was, you kept telling me that I needed to step into my power. And this is what we're talking about, right? Because this is the thing. If you don't believe you can have a successful business making the money that you want, right? Not the, oh, okay, I'll be okay if I just make 1K a month. And you're like, actually, do you know what? I'd like 8K. I'd like 8K, please. Or maybe 15K. It doesn't really matter what the number is, right? But if you doubt that and you kind of go, I can't make that, I can't do that, right? That's what you're putting out there, right? And that's why it's always a good idea to think about what is it that you're really aligned to, so that there's no dissonance within you, right? You want it to be like so aligned that it just feels like it makes perfect sense to you. And then there's no resistance, right? And when there's no resistance, then it just feels so much smoother, so much easier, okay? So let's talk about what your self-concept is, how it impacts your success, and how to reshape it. Because I'm sure you're probably thinking, okay, Yasmin, I get the gist, right? But how do we work with this? So that's exactly what we're going to dive into. Okay. So a definition of your self-concept, this is the way that I look at it. It's the beliefs and the identity you hold about who you are and what you're capable of, right? So the beliefs and identity you hold about who you are and what you are capable of. So I'll give you an example. My kids, when they come home from school with homework, and I remember having this conversation with my daughter, and she was waiting for her dad to come home because she had a math question. Now, I will just preface this first of all and say my kids go to an Irish speaking school, and so everything is taught through Irish. And she's nearly finishing up primary school. And so some of the Irish is really complicated and I don't understand it. So I can't even help her with the question because I don't know what the question is. So I will just say that right now, right? So she's waiting for my husband to come home so he can help her with her math. And I said to her, because I'm so like in this world of like self-concept, and I really want to make sure that they have got a really powerful self-concept from a young age, right? So they don't have to do all the reprogramming like we're doing, right? And I said to her, I said, stories that you tell about yourself will have such an impact in your world. Okay. And she was like, what do you mean? I said, so when you come across something that is difficult, like math, right? Or you're like, and she's actually really good at it, but sometimes she kind of like says, I'm not good at this. And I said, but when you keep telling yourself that you're not good at this, you're going to keep reinforcing that, and it will make it harder for you to actually see the solution in front of you, right? And I said, and I'm going to be very honest with you. Okay, that's what I was telling myself for years when I was in school, that I'm not good at maths. I'm not good at maths. Actually, I'm not bad at maths at all, right? I love numbers. I love when I'm talking about finances and things like that. Because for me, from like a business perspective, finances tell a story. But I kept telling myself this story that I was not good at maths. So what are the stories that you're telling yourself about business, right? I can't do this. I'm not smart enough. I'm not blonde enough. I'm not thin enough. I'm not skinny enough. I don't have designer clothes. I don't have a yacht. I haven't got cool photos, whatever it might be, right? Your self-concept are the thoughts and the beliefs that you hold about who you are and what you're capable of. And it matters because your self-concept dictates how you show up in your business, right? Are you showing up timid? Are you showing up like all apologetic? Are you shrinking in yourself? If you think of that when you go to a conference, you walking into that room with your shoulders back, where as in, I'm a woman of substance, right? Or are you coming in going, oh my God, who am I? I'm nobody, right? It determines how you handle challenges. if something hasn't gone right, if a launch hasn't gone the way that you wanted it to, do you immediately kind of think, I am such a dunce, I cannot do anything right, this isn't going to work for me, this is never going to work for me? Or you think, okay, right, do you know what, this stings, this hurts, like, so we don't want to be doing any bypassing. It stings, it hurts, but let me see what I could have done better, right? Because your self-concept, if you have a self-concept of I'm somebody who makes things work, and when things don't work, I learn from them so I can move on quickly, then that's going to determine how you actually handle those setbacks, because you're always going to have setbacks and challenges in business. That's normal as well, okay? And it also dictates the opportunities you allow yourself to pursue. So one of the things that I always do is whenever anybody asks me to be on a summit or like be on their podcast or anything like that, I'm always a yes, right? Because I'm like going, yeah, this is a great opportunity. And there's been some times where I'm kind of like, oh my God, am I ready for that? And I'm going to say yes anyway, because I know I'll be able to figure it out, right? I know I can rise to the occasion. So your self-concept determines how you actually handle those opportunities coming to you as well. So I'll give you an example of like limiting and empowering self-concept, right? So you could say something like, I'm not good at selling, right? Which a lot of business owners, struggle with, especially solopreneurs. An empowering self-concept would be something like, I'm natural. I'm a natural at connecting with people, and sales come easily, right? Because really selling is just a conversation. And it was so funny. I was actually documenting my process, like in terms of especially high ticket premium clients, because that has been the backbone of my business for the last decade. It has made life so much easier. And so I'm a big, big advocate of really marketing and attracting those high ticket clients. And I'm talking like 1K plus, those premium clients. And I was thinking about my process, and I was thinking, yeah, but I don't feel like I have a sales process. Right? Because what I'm doing is I'm having a conversation, just like this podcast series. I'm having a conversation with you. If you like what I've been talking about, if you resonate with me, if you kind of really enjoy the energy of what we've been doing, then chances are you're going to think, oh, I think I'd like to work with Yasmin. Oh, I feel like this would be a really good match, right? So for me, I don't have a sales process as such. I have a specific, I suppose I do have a process, but for me, it feels very organic because I'm just chatting with people. I'm having a conversation, having a coffee with you, and let's see where it takes us, right? They've been like my best sales ever is where it's not felt like a sales process at all. So instead of you telling yourself, I'm not good at selling, you kind of go, actually, you know what? I'm really good at connecting with people. I'm really good at building a rapport, and sales just comes really easily to me, right? So you change the way that you talk about it. You change what's going on for you internally, because do you know what, love? You are your constant companion, right? It's like, when dating coaches, they talk about, finding the right person. And the truth is that when you work on yourself and you kind of go, right, okay, am I ready for this? Am I, what am I putting out there? Do I feel worthy? Do I feel, worthy of love and respect and all of those things? And when you are so full of yourself, you will reflect that. You will get people in your life that are such amazing people, right? And it's the same in business as well. Okay. So let's talk about the 3 pillars of a winning self concept. Okay. So first one, pillar 1, your self image, seeing yourself as a successful solopreneur. Okay. I want you to think about what would or how would I show up? What would I be doing every day? What would I be saying? How would I be behaving? What kind of decisions would I be making? If I see myself as a successful solopreneur, right? Who am I being? Right? What's my self-image? I'd be like, okay, well, for me personally, I want to make sure that I've had my walk in the morning, that I'm looking after my physical body. I've done my journaling, I've done my visualization, I'm looking after all aspects of me before I actually sit down to do the work, right? I was like, oh yeah, okay. And I'd be kind to myself. I'd be cheering myself on, going, I can't believe that you've just recorded another podcast episode. Whoop, whoop. I'd be really generous with myself. because I've got to be honest with you, I have not always been that way. I am super critical, right? It actually makes me wince when I think about what I say to myself or what I have said to myself, because then it's a journey, right? Because I can be really awful. And I would never, ever, ever oh my God, ever would I ever say that to my children, right? I would never say that to my best friend, but I say it to myself all the time. And you probably can relate to that as well, right? So how are you showing up? Like, so when you think about, seeing yourself as that successful solopreneur, and you will have a vision of your own of what that looks like. For me, it's like that. I have that cozy vibe around my business, right? So you think, oh yeah, and it's so good because every time my phone pings and I've got another payment notification, and it just feels so delicious, right? In order to grow your business, you have to see yourself as a successful solopreneur first, right? So this is your actionable tip, right? I want you to visualize what your next level self looks like. How does this version of you think, act, and speak? And I want you to start embodying that today. And this is a really important word. And I want you to kind of like sear it in your mind, if you can. Brand it in there, right? Embodiment. When you are the embodiment of what you are offering, and it just is such a part of you, it's that certainty again. Honestly, that is magnetic, right? Forget about your messaging for a second. If you in your core are like the embodiment of what you're offering, you are going to be so magnetic. People are literally going to come out of thin air. You're going to feel like your business is so magical because people are literally coming out of the woodwork, and you're like, where were you all hiding? Right? Where have you all come from? Because it's not about them, it's about you. And when you change how you're showing up and how you're acting and how you're behaving and what you're thinking and saying to yourself, that changes the external world, right? So it blows my mind, right? The second pillar of a winning self concept is self-belief, right? Trusting your ability to achieve goals. So when you start out your month and you say, like, I'd like to make 5,000 this month, right? Do you immediately have this little voice that says, you can't do that? The most you made is 3K, right? You're trusting your ability to hit those goals is such a huge part of your winning self concept. And you kind of go, I always get what I want. Right? And even if, and I'm going to say this now because you're probably thinking, but I haven't done it, right? It doesn't matter. What's happened in the past is in the past. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. So right now is all you have, right? So we are going to start it from this point. If you say, okay, my goal for today is 2,000, and you go, right, I firmly believe that I can do that. And I'm going to take actions that's going to help me to make that happen, right? I'm not saying it's guaranteed, but do you know what? How you show up, the actions that you take, it's coming from a different place completely. So maybe it's not today, but maybe it comes in the morning, right? Because you've changed. You have changed, right? Now, here's a couple of little tips for you. Self-belief is built through repetition and evidence, right? I'm not sitting here thinking that, or I'm going to assume that you have had successes in your business, right? Whether it's your business, whether it's any other aspects of your life, right? I'm not, well, not for one for tooting my horn, but I'm going to toot my horn, right? I am amazing at looking after the house. I am brilliant at looking after the food. I hope I'm a really good mom. I know that I am really flipping good at being a wife and a mother. I'm a really good person, and like there's like so much certainty in me, right? Around that, I get my laundry done. Everything is just like running the way it should. It's a ship-shape house, right? And so I have a huge amount of self-belief in my ability, right? Hasn't always been the case with my business, right? Because if I remember having a 12K month, right? That was I was like, oh my God, I can't believe that just happened, right? And I remember having that. But then I remember pressure I felt after. And then my income just went for the next couple of months. And it threw me in such a tailspin. I'm going to be honest with you. Such a tailspin, because I was just like, oh my God, that was a fluke and I'm rubbish and, all of the stuff. Instead of actually just saying, right, okay, great. How can we build on that? How can we use that revenue in a way that's going to really help you, like sustain growth, etc., etc. No. What I did was I went the other way and I just went, oh, I'm so rubbish. I'm so rubbish. Right? Like having all of this knowledge about self-concept would have been really helpful then. It's so funny when you look back and you think, oh my God, how could I not have known this? But I didn't. I genuinely didn't. I would go into those tailspins, and sometimes it took a really long time to get me back out of that, right? So for me, self-belief has been a big, big, big part of my journey. And it is built through repetition. It is built through evidence. So one thing that you can absolutely do is like recognize, like, so when I've been creating this podcast, when I've been doing all the pages for it, I'm like, oh yeah, you're knocking it out of the park. I'm so proud of you. And, like really being my own cheer squad, right? One of the things I tell my clients to do is to keep a little evidence journal, right? So every day when you finish work, write down 3 things that you've achieved that day. It doesn't matter how small it is, but write it down. Another really good thing that you can do is get all your testimonials, like maybe have a little folder of them. So when you are feeling down, like look through all the people that have raved about you. Maybe have a list in front of you of all the results that you've helped people create over the time that you've been in business, right? Whether that's free or paid, it doesn't matter, right? There's evidence. And so when you collate all that evidence and when you like bring it all together and put it in front of you, you can't help but pay attention, because you kind of go, actually, do you know what? I'm really good at this, right? So that's self-belief. So your first pillar was self-image, second pillar was self-belief. The third pillar is self-worth, okay? Knowing you're worthy of success. And really and truly, like, we're all worthy of it. We came onto this world already worthy. We don't have to prove ourselves. You don't have to, be validated by anybody. You already are, right? You already are worthy of all the success, all the abundance in the world. But we keep forgetting it. We keep forgetting how important this is, right? And it's about reminding yourself that, I remember having this conversation with a good friend of mine where she was like, I feel like I have to do all of these things, be a success in all aspects of my life, and then people will see me for who I am, that they'll think I'm worthy. And I'm like, oh my God, it's so exhausting. So let's just start from the baseline that you are worthy of success. That's it. Like, let's just start from that place. Okay. But the problem is that a lot of solopreneurs sabotage success because you don't feel like you deserve it, right? If you do have a high income month and then you're immediately into self-sabotage, which is what I did, because there's a part of you at some level feels like you don't deserve it, or like that was a fluke, and you shouldn't be making that kind of money, etc., 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 right? And when you shift this belief, right, it can really transform how you price, how you market, and how you sell, right? Because you're already worthy. This isn't about arrogance. This isn't about being an idiot, about, like, oh, I'm so great. This is about knowing that you're worthy of success. This is about knowing that what you're offering is really powerful. This is about knowing that what you're offering is needed and desired by people, right? It's about knowing that the price you have set is a really good value exchange. It's knowing all of those things. It's not about being apologetic and going, oh, I'm sorry, it's 2,000 too much for you. Okay, well, I'll do it for 500 then, because you know it yourself that when you discount, and I'm sure you've done it many, many times, and I'm talking like discounting from a place of lack, not from a strategic decision, but when you discount from a place of lack, because you think, oh, maybe I'm not that good, and oh, all of that stuff, right? It's because it's stemming from that place of like, I'm not worthy of this. I'm not worthy of success, or I'm not worthy of success because I haven't absolutely, made myself exhausted and burnt out. Like, surely that's the the badge of honor that I was so exhausted and yet I still kept going. Well, hello, no thank you. No thank you. And this is why I am such an advocate of premium clients, because you get to do work at a high level in your business. You get to work with amazing clients, people who are ready to invest and do the work, and you get paid well for it. And honestly, if you're telling yourself a story that people will not buy your premium offering, that's just a story. I want you to really understand this. It is just a story. And this is part of your self-concept. Because you have this belief that people won't buy what you have. Now, maybe we need to do some work on your messaging and your offer and how you're showing up, your positioning. Like, that's all the stuff that I do with my clients, right? But trust me, you have the ability to attract as many premium clients as you want, right? Maybe you want to make 5K a month and you have a program that's 2.5K and you go, great, I just need 2 clients every month, right? Then it's about putting yourself in that space, in your head, your heart, to kind of go, right, okay, here's how I'm going to bring them into me, right? Okay, so a little actionable tip for you. You can create a daily affirmation, right? And actually, one of the things I've given you as a free gift in the episode description is I've given you an hypnotic activation, which is like a 10-minute activation to help rewire your brain so that it primes you to be attractive to clients. You know what I mean? And I've also given you an 60-minute rampage. This literally is something that you can listen to while you are walking, while you're cooking, whatever you're doing, and you can just listen to this, because this repetition is going to be so powerful. There are 2 of my free gifts for you in the episode description, so make sure you grab those. Okay. And you can have your own daily affirmation, like, I'm worthy of success, abundance, and fulfillment, and you just say that every morning. Or one of my favorite affirmations, because it just takes away any specificity, is everything always works out for me. Everything always works out for me. Everything always works out for me. I love that one. That's a really, really good one. Okay. All right. So let's talk about how you can reshape your self-concept. Okay. Because this is the bit where you think, okay, you know what? I don't think my self-concept has been helping me too much. Right. So let's talk about how you can actually reshape your concept. So I want you to identify your current beliefs, right? What beliefs do you have about yourself at the moment, right? You could get a blank sheet of paper and just write them all down and be really honest with yourself. Like, think about the beliefs that are holding you back. Like, I'm not an expert. Nobody wants to buy from me. Why would someone want to work with me? I'm not good enough. Jane over there is way more experienced than me. I don't want to be online. I don't like social media. Social media annoys me. And I want you to think about all of these beliefs that are holding you back, right? Because truthfully, like, social media is a brilliant way to be able to get out in front of people. And yet we've turned it into this horrible thing where, like, oh, it's sucking the life out of me. But what if you became the controller? And, I always think of Inside Out, the films where Joy's taking control of the console, right? So we're going to put Joy in the driving seat, right? And we're going to say, right, okay, I'm going to spend 30 minutes on LinkedIn doing the things that I normally do on LinkedIn, right? And then that's me. If that's your platform, and you go, that's me done then. I'm not fluting around all day long, just scrolling, right? If you have this belief that, Jane has more expertise than you, and so everyone should go to Jane. Well, what if Jane's got her own inner demons and she's battling with that? Like, why do you assume that other people are better than you? What if your person really wants you, and so actually you're doing them a disservice, right? So if you've got this negative self-talk going on, like, I'm not an expert, and, that whole term makes you feel freaked out. Well, remember, though, you don't have to be a guru, right? You're the guide. And you say, like, I actually have unique insights and knowledge and expertise that other people will really benefit from, right? You've already changed the energy of that. You've taken out the sting of, oh, I'm not an expert. And you kind of go, well, actually, do you know what? I've got really unique insights and perspectives that can really help people. And I know, like, I could have spent 10 minutes with somebody and I will, have said something that's just created this light bulb moment that has transformed their whole business. That's happened to me many, many times, right? And so you start thinking about yourself in a different way. Identify what those current beliefs are that are holding you back, right? And start to reframe that. What you like actually like start working with that and go, right, okay. So if this is the belief I have, how can I reframe that? Right? Reframe the negative self-talk because you are with you all day long, right? When sometimes people say like, oh, I just need to get away. But I said this to my husband once and he always teases me about it because he's like, ooh. And basically what I said to him, I said, wherever you go, there you are. And he looked at me and went, what? I'm hoping you understand this. I was trying to explain it to him. Wherever you go, there you are. Because your self-talk is going to follow you wherever you go. Whether you go into a log cabin in the woods, whether you go on a beach holiday, your self-talk is still going to be with you. So if you don't work on what's going on for you internally, that is going to be everywhere. People leave a town and they go, oh, this town is terrible. And I'm not happy here. Right? That happened to me years ago. And I moved to a town and I went, oh, and then I moved back, right? Because I was just like, actually, do you know what? I took myself with me and that wasn't the best thing at all, right? But you have to learn to really live with yourself, right? Maybe you're thinking, I'm never going to figure this out, Yasmin. Oh my God, you've talked about all these amazing things and I want all of these things in my business, but I'm never going to be able to figure this out, right? What about you? What if you just said, I'm learning and growing every single day? I don't need to have everything figured out. I just take one day at a time. Like already you're taking the negative charge out of that statement of, I'm never going to figure this out. Like it's so like, what's the word I'm looking for? It's so forever. You just feel like you've just doomed yourself. But you don't need to. You can say, you know what? I don't have to have this all figured out. Just like the famous Martin Luther King quote with the staircase. And it's like, you don't need to see the whole staircase, just need to see that first step. One of the favorite things I like to do in terms of reshaping your self-concept is act as if, right? It's about that whole piece of embodiment again. So you can think, okay, I'm going to take action as if I'm already the successful solopreneur that I aspire to be, right? If your goal is you want to make 15K every single month in your business, then what would someone who's making 15K, how would she behave? What would she think? What would she do? What would she say? How would she interact with people? What kinds of things would she be doing? What kind of events would she be putting on? What kind of content would she be creating? Act as if. Start embodying her now, right? And honestly, like, it's so funny because I've been learning about law of attraction, manifestation, all that kind of stuff for a really long time. But what I've been really fascinated with recently is the neuroscience around this. So it's like I'm bringing the science because I've talked to my husband about it and he'd be like, oh, it's woo-woo again. And now I'm showing him the science and he's like, oh, because, we just want to know, okay, this isn't just me being delusional, although, nothing wrong with that. But with neuroscience, what we're learning is the things that we're visualizing, the things that we are repeating to ourselves over and over again, that is a reality that we are creating. So if you're not happy with what you've created so far, first of all, know that you're manifesting all the time, whether you like it or not, whether you know it or not, you are. So whatever you are experiencing right now, the circumstances, and that can sometimes be hard to kind of think, I don't like that, right? But it's true because you think, okay, well, what am I saying to myself? Am I telling myself that I can't be a success? Am I telling myself that it's hard to make money? Am I telling myself that, nobody wants to buy or my audience is too small, etc., etc., etc.? What are you telling yourself? This is where you have to really get very, very disciplined around your self-concept. And you think, actually, do you know what? And like give yourself, like surround yourself with rampages. Like one of the things that I do with my one-to-one clients is I create a custom rampage for you that's geared to you, that is going to be something that you can listen to and instantly gets you into that state of mind that makes someone think, yeah, let's do it, right? So acting as if, embodiment, we're going back to that, okay? Act as if you're that confident, certain solopreneur that you dream to be. Like, be her now. There is no future, right? The moment we have right now is the only moment. So be her now. Step into her now. There will be a little bit of a lag between your internal and your external world. So whatever is going on for you internally, when you start shifting that, it may feel like nothing's happening on the external, but trust me, and there is that big part of trust. Trust that this is the external is starting to shift now as well. Okay. Surround yourself with evidence of success, right? Anytime, and years ago, well, maybe not so many years ago, I used to get really triggered when I'd see people creating the level of success that I wanted. And I'd be really triggered by it. And I'd be like, oh, Sodom, And then I had this moment where I went, interesting. What if the universe is showing me evidence that what I want can be done, is possible? Right. And it just shifted the way I thought of things. So I went, well, if she can do it, I can do it. If he can do it, I can do it. That's available for me too. Right. And so it's not about, going and looking what everyone else is doing, because that can actually, that is not very good for your mental health. But like, be with people who are showing you evidence of success, right? People who inspire you, so that could be mentors, that could be communities, it could be content that reflects the success that you are working toward, right? Just go and see where you can really immerse yourself in that. Like, I love listening to podcasts. I actually love, it's so funny because my husband and I send each other reels. That's how we like communicate with each other. And I'm like, oh, which reel did I send you? Have you looked at all the reels that I sent you? And my algorithm is so different to his algorithm. And we're like comparing, and all my stuff is like all the stuff that we're talking about right now around self-concept, because I am just like so deep into it, because I know that this has been the thing that has helped, that has stopped me from achieving the level of success that I desire. So I'm like, I gotta change this boat around. I gotta turn this boat around. Okay. So you probably have some kind of common blocks in your mind. Like, you probably have got some mindset blocks in your head going, okay, Yasmin, this all sounds really good and easy, right? But maybe you think, I've tried this before, right? Is this going to be different? How is this going to be different, right? And what I wanted you to know is the past doesn't exist, right? That's gone, right? So instead of seeing it as a failure, think of it as, oh, it's a lesson learned. What did I learn from that? Like, I think back to all of the launches that I have done over the years, successful and not so successful. I think, oh my God, all the skills that I learned, like now for me, it's like I can just go within like half an hour, I can have a web page up, I can have automation set up. Like, I have learned all of these skills, so nothing has been wasted, right? What if you're telling yourself, okay, Yasmin, do you know what? I just don't think I'm good enough. I just don't think I can do this, right? And that genuinely is something that a lot of people really, really struggle with. They're like, I'm just not good enough, right? I want you to recognize this is just a story. This is just a story. I think every single person in the world feels that at some level. But for some people, it's just more present. Other people, they're kind of like, sod it. I'm just going to do it anyway. Right? Just be aware of that. It's a story, and you can always change the story. Right? This is what reprogramming and rewiring your brain is all about. And what I'm loving hearing in the neuroscience is that, your neuroplasticity, like your brain's changing all the time, right? Even just listening to this podcast is changing your brain, because it's like, oh, look at this. Oh, look at this, right? So you can change the story, okay? What if success feels scary, right? Maybe there's a part of you that's like, oh, I don't want to make a lot of money, because then I'm going to have to pay a lot of taxes, right? Remember, your brain is designed to keep you safe, right? And there was a great quote, I'm going to share it with you here, because I think it's really, really powerful. Like, your brain will choose the familiar hell over the unfamiliar heaven every single time, right? Because your brain is designed to keep you alive, right? But we're not, and it really helped us in like caveman times, but we don't have those physical threats. We have other threats, but we don't have those physical, like, you're just going to die because the saber-toothed tiger is going to maul you, right? But our brain is still in that space. So what you want to do is you want to really create safety in your brain. And what I do personally is when I'm starting to get a little bit anxious and I'm starting to get a little bit like, the stories, that disempowering stories are starting to swirl around and I'm feeling that contraction, what I will first of all do is remind myself that I am safe. You're fine. You're safe, right? Because once your brain is kind of go, okay, I'm safe. Okay. And then you go and do the thing that you think, oh God, I want to reach out to this person. But because you're feeling unsafe, you won't do it. So if you create that safety within you, first of all, then you will be able to absolutely do that action. And you go, oh, that wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. I can do it again, right? And so now you're really, really rewiring those neural pathways. Okay. And I want you to really understand that leaning into the discomfort is completely, or feeling the discomfort is normal, right? It is absolutely normal. Just lean into it, right? Growth always feels unfamiliar at first. Okay, so let's start wrapping up this one because I think this one has gone a little bit longer than I expected. So let's just do a quick recap, right? So your self-concept is the invisible force behind every decision you make. And when you align it with success, you become unstoppable, right? I really want you to start thinking about how are you seeing yourself? What are the beliefs, the thoughts that you have about yourself or what you're capable of doing? Like say, for example, you actually, you have a goal of you're like, I want to have a business that's going to make multiple six figures or maybe, 7 figures or beyond, right? If you sit there thinking, I can absolutely do that, and you have this unwavering belief in you, in your ability, and you're going to go, yeah, I don't know how I'm going to do that, but I know I can, compared to kind of, probably ridiculous, that's never going to happen, right? Already, your brain's going, okay, fair enough. I won't try and see if I can figure a way out that way, right? So what are you telling yourself about yourself? What are you saying to yourself every single day? How do you see yourself? Are you seeing yourself as the person who always gets what she wants? She is always, focused. She takes the actions. She's the embodiment of what she's doing. Clients just flock to her so easily. It's so easy to make money. Like, what are you saying to yourself, right? Reshaping your self-concept is going to help you become absolutely unstoppable, right? So practical step, start journaling your wins, right? And reframing any self-doubt that you might have. It's really helpful. And it's the tactile nature. Dr. James Doty talks about this. It's like the tactile nature of actually writing it out. And you journal, you take it out from here and you put it on a piece of paper. And in that one act, it frees up so much tension in your body, right? So journaling, I really highly recommend it. Join a supportive community or environment that really helps you to up level, because I think that's so important. Surround yourself with, whether it's things like podcasts or videos or whatever it might be, that really gets you thinking about who you want to be. Forget about all the noise that tells you that it isn't possible for you. Like really focusing on the things that really lift your spirit and really make you feel like I can do this. Okay. Now, one of the communities that you can absolutely join is the multiplier community. And we're a really nice, small, intimate group. And we're here to support you, as well as getting all of the other stuff done as well, like, your message, your offer, your sales system, all of the stuff that we've been talking about so far. But it's also about who you're being, right? And so it's a really safe place for you to be in. So click the link in the description if you want to find out more about Multiplier. Or if you'd like to have a chat with me first to see if it's the right fit for you, then definitely book a clarity call. Just click the button below and I'd be very, very happy to have a conversation with you. Don't forget to grab your hypnotic activation and your client rampage in the link description, in the episode description. And they're my gifts to you. So you can just download them to your phone and just listen to them. If you listen to the 10-minute hypnotic activation every day, and then you can just listen to the rampage when you're out for your walk, it's going to make a huge, huge difference. Okay. As we wrap up, here's what I want you to know, right? You are always one mindset shift away from the success you desire. And these are not big shifts, but these are significant shifts. Okay. significant in what they will do for you, right? So everything that we've talked about, including the topics around, your magnetic message, your signature trademark transformation, your digital assets, your 24/7 sales team, your streamlined systems, and of course, this solopreneur self-concept, like all of those things are absolutely within your capability right now, right? You would not have got to this point in this podcast series if you didn't believe that about yourself, right? So, if you want to really take your work and what you're doing in the world to the next level, highly recommend you come and join us in Multiplier or book a clarity call and we can have a conversation about whether Multiplier is right for you or maybe working with me one-on-one. I have given you a lot of different resources through these episodes, so please go and use those. And remember what I was saying, like at the beginning of this episode, right? I have given you a lot of information. What I'm also hoping is that you've had a lot of shifts within you, right? And remember, the magic is in the implementation. The magic is in the doing. More importantly than all of that, it's in who you're being in every single moment. That is going to make the unassailable difference when you become that unwavering, certain person. You are full of confidence and you know that you are so aligned with what you're doing. You are going to get clients coming to you from everywhere. And you're going to wonder, how are they all hiding? All right, my lovely, I'm going to wrap up this and I have really enjoyed this session with you. I hope you have too. And I will talk to you soon. Take care.